Ellie saw Marine again after 5 years. It happened on a rainy Tuesday morning. He was standing in line at his usual coffee shop. He just wanted a quick coffee before work. Then he saw her. She was 10 feet away, ordering tea. She looked different, but still the same in some way. Her hair was shorter now. She wore a long blue coat. She looked older, more calm. She hadn't seen him yet. He froze. He didn't expect to feel so much, but there she was, Marin, the girl he had loved, the girl he had lost. He remembered everything at once, her laugh, her soft singing in the kitchen, the way she always asked him to stay up with her when she couldn't sleep. He stepped out of line. Something inside him said, "Go to her." She turned when she heard someone say his name. "Ellie?" she asked. Her voice was soft, unsure. "Hey, mine," he said. Quiet, careful. The last time he saw her, she had left with just one bag. She had said, "I don't think we can fix this." And then she left. He didn't stop her. She didn't explain. Neither of them did. Now, after 5 years, the silence between them was still there. Marine gave a small smile. "I didn't think I'd see you again." "Yeah," Ellie said. "Me neither." They stood there, not knowing what to say. People walked around them, holding coffee cups and umbrellas, but for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. "You look good," Marine said. "So do you," Ellie said. "Different, but good." Marine looked down. "I should go," she said. Ellie felt a small panic rise in his chest. "Do you have time?" he asked. "Maybe. For coffee? Later?" She paused, then nodded. "I'm meeting someone now, but maybe another day?" He quickly pulled out his phone. "Here's my number." She took it. "Okay." She walked away. He watched her go, just like before, but this time she turned back to look at him. That look gave him hope. Sometimes people don't say what they really feel. Sometimes silence can break love, but maybe it can also bring people back. Characters: Ellie Whitman, Marion Clark. Ellie couldn't stop thinking about her. All day at work, he made mistakes. He sent the wrong emails. He forgot meetings. His mind kept going back to Marin, back to that moment at the coffee shop. The way she looked at him, the way she smiled, even if it was a little nervous. He hadn't seen her in 5 years, but it didn't feel like 5 years. It felt like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. He sat at his desk, staring at the screen, not really reading anything. He remembered how she used to sit on the floor in their old apartment, painting her toes while talking about her dreams. She wanted to teach, to travel, to feel free. They had been in love once, truly, deeply. But they had also been quiet, too quiet. They never talked about the hard stuff. When things felt wrong, they just stayed silent. They thought love would fix it all, but love without words sometimes breaks. That's what happened. He still didn't understand why it ended. Not fully. And now she was back. Not really back in his life, but near, close enough to wonder. He picked up his phone and looked at her contact. He hadn't messaged yet. He didn't want to seem too eager, but he wanted to see her again, more than anything. Across town, Marine sat in a small park, holding her tea. It had gone cold. She didn't care. She had told her boyfriend, James, that she needed some air. She didn't tell him she had seen Eli. She felt strange inside, a little shaken, like something old had been pulled out of a box she'd hidden deep in her heart. She liked James. He was kind, patient, and good to her. But with Eli, it had been different, wilder, messier, but deeper. She hadn't spoken Eli's name in years, not even in her own mind. She had tried to forget, to move on. But today, when she saw him, all the old feelings came back. Not just the love, the questions, the silence, the things they had never said. Why had they fallen apart? They never yelled, they never cheated, they just stopped talking, stopped trying. And now, here they were. She looked down at her phone. His number was saved now. Should she text first? What would she even say? "Hi, I haven't stopped wondering either." She laughed softly. She felt both nervous and warm. She stood up, ready to walk home. But in her heart, something had opened again. Sometimes people come back when you least expect them. Sometimes the past isn't really finished. Sometimes it's just waiting for the right words. Eli waited 2 days before sending the message. He wrote it 3 times, deleted it twice. He didn't want to sound too casual, but he also didn't want to sound desperate. In the end, he just typed, "Would you like to get that coffee this week?" and hit send before he could overthink it again. Marine replied 15 minutes later, "Yes. How about Friday?" Eli stared at the message, heart pounding. Just one word, and everything shifted inside him. He typed back quickly, "Friday works." "Same place?" "Sure," she replied. That was it. Simple. Easy. But it felt huge. The days leading up to Friday moved slowly. Every night, Eli thought about what he would say. He didn't want to bring up the past too fast, but he also didn't want to pretend it hadn't happened. There were things he had carried for 5 years, things he had never told anyone, things he still didn't understand. Marion felt nervous too. On Thursday night, she told James she was meeting an old friend. That wasn't exactly a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. She didn't know how to explain Ellie to him. She didn't know how to explain Ellie to herself. When she tried, all the words got tangled. James kissed her forehead and said, "Have fun." She smiled, but her chest felt tight. Friday came. Marin stood outside the coffee shop 5 minutes early. Her hands were cold, even though it was July. She kept checking the door. Finally, Ellie walked in. He looked the same, but a little older. A little more tired maybe, but his eyes were still kind. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she said back. They sat at a small table by the window. Neither of them touched their drinks right away. The silence was there again, but it didn't feel as heavy. It felt like space, like a pause between songs. "How have you been?" Ellie asked. Marine gave a small smile. "Good, busy. Life keeps moving, you know?" He nodded. "Yeah, I know." She looked at him. "You?" "Same," he said. Then he paused. "I've thought about you." Marine blinked. That wasn't what she expected so soon. "I've thought about you too," she said. They both looked down at their drinks. 5 years of silence sat between them, but maybe this was a start. Maybe now they could begin to fill the space. Ellie took a breath. "Can I ask you something?" Marine nodded. "Why did we stop talking?" She looked at him for a long time. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I think we didn't know how to say what we really felt." I think you're right. The conversation stayed soft, careful, but something real was happening. After all this time, they were finally starting to speak. Sometimes the hardest words are the ones left unsaid. Sometimes healing begins with just one honest moment. After the coffee, they began to meet more often. Once a week at first, then twice. Always in public places, always casual. But the past was there, gently rising between their smiles. One evening, they walked through the park where they used to come during their last year together. The trees looked the same, but everything else had changed. "Do you remember the time we got caught in the storm here?" Marine asked. Ellie laughed. "Yeah, we were soaked. You kept yelling, 'My shoes are dying.'" She smiled. "They were new." "They were ugly," he said. She nudged his arm. "They were unique." The laughter felt easy, but underneath it was something else, a question waiting to be asked. As they sat on a bench near the fountain, Ellie finally said, "Do you think we were happy?" Marine looked at him. "I think we tried to be. I think we were sometimes, but not at the end." Ellie nodded. "We stopped talking about things, real things." "I was scared," Marine said. "Me too," Ellie said. "I thought if we didn't talk about it, the hard parts would go away." "But they didn't," she said. "They just grew." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Marine said, "I still don't know what the exact problem was. Just that something felt off, and we didn't have the words for it. Maybe we didn't know ourselves well enough back then." Ellie said. "Yeah," Marine whispered. "Maybe we didn't know how to love right. Or maybe we loved too much and didn't know what to do with it," he said. She looked at him. There was a softness in her eyes that hadn't been there the first day they met again. Maybe, she said. That word hung in the air like a promise or a warning. They didn't know what they were walking into, but they were walking together now. Step by step, Marine had been with James for almost 3 years. He was steady and kind. They shared a small apartment filled with books and plants. Marine liked James. But with Ellie, things felt different. When she thought of Ellie, she remembered passion and confusion, wild nights and silent mornings. When she thought of James, she thought of comfort and calm. One evening, Marine invited Ellie over to meet James. She wanted to be honest about her life now. James was polite, friendly. He shook Ellie's hand and smiled. "So, you're the old friend," he said. Ellie smiled back. Something like that." After James left, Ellie and Marine sat on the couch. The room was quiet. "How do you do it?" Ellie asked. "How do you love someone new after someone like me?" Marine looked at him. "I don't know if I've figured it out," she said. "I think you carry pieces of your past with you. Sometimes those pieces don't fit anymore." Ellie nodded. "I still carry you," he said quietly. "I carry us." Marine reached for his hand. "Maybe that's why we're here," she said. "To see if those pieces can come together again." Ellie looked into her eyes. "I want to try. Me too." The past was not forgotten, but maybe it could be part of something new, something better. Ellie offered to drive Marine home after one of their evening walks. It was getting late and the sky was full of stars. Marine hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, just for tonight." The car was quiet for a while. The city lights passed by like memories, soft, distant, and full of things they never said. Eli turned the radio down low. A song came on that Marine remembered from years ago, one they used to play while making dinner. She smiled without meaning to. "You still listen to this?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said. "Some things don't leave." They stopped at a red light. Marine looked out the window. "It's strange," she said. "I spent years trying to forget everything. Now it's all coming back." "Me too," Ellie said. "And now I'm wondering if forgetting was ever the right thing." Marine didn't answer. She was thinking about the last 6 months with James. He was good to her, kind and patient, but she had always felt like she was holding something back. With Eli, everything felt exposed, like her whole heart was standing in the room, not just a part of it. "I don't know what I'm doing," she said softly. "I don't either," Eli said. "But maybe that's okay." He pulled up to her building. She looked at him. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't broken up?" Eli didn't look away. "All the time." The words felt like truth, simple and full of weight. Marine reached for the door handle. "Good night, Eli." "Good night, Marine." She got out of the car, but before walking away, she turned back. "Thanks for not disappearing." "I couldn't," he said. And he meant it. The next time they met, it wasn't in a coffee shop or park. It was in Eli's apartment. Marine had said she didn't want to be outside anymore. She wanted to talk, really talk. The living room was quiet except for the ticking of a clock. Ellie handed her a glass of water and sat across from her on the couch. She looked nervous. "What did we miss, Ellie?" she asked. "Back then, what did we ignore?" Ellie took a breath. "Everything. We were so afraid of breaking what we had, we never talked about the cracks." "I was scared all the time," Marine said. "Scared you'd stop loving me. Scared I wasn't enough." Ellie's face softened. "I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to show it when things got hard. You pulled away," she said. "And I didn't ask why." "I thought you didn't want to know," he said. "I thought you were tired of me." "I wasn't," she said quickly. "I was tired of being confused, of not knowing what was wrong." They sat in the truth, letting it sting, letting it land. Marine looked down. "We didn't fail because we didn't love each other. We failed because we didn't say the things that mattered." Ellie nodded. "And because we thought love would be easy, that if it wasn't perfect, it wasn't real." She looked up. "But it was real, wasn't it?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. "It was the most real thing I've ever had." They didn't cry. Not yet. But something deep broke open in the quiet between them. Not in a painful way, more like something that had been waiting too long to be seen. Marine reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. For the first time in years, they were fully honest. Not just with each other, but with themselves. Sometimes healing doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from finally saying the truth you were too scared to face. The morning after their long talk, Marine woke up with a heavy heart, not sad but full. Like something important had happened and she couldn't go back to pretending it hadn't. She made coffee in silence, James still asleep in the other room. She looked at him for a long time. He looked peaceful, unaware of the storm in her chest. She loved him in a way. He was steady, safe. But she wasn't fully there. Not the way she had once been with Ellie, and not the way she had felt again, sitting in Ellie's apartment, holding his hand, finally speaking the truth. She didn't want to hurt James, but she couldn't lie to him either. That afternoon, she sat him down. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. Her voice shook a little. "I still have feelings for someone else." James didn't look surprised. He nodded slowly. "Is it Ellie?" She nodded. "I'm sorry. I didn't plan this. I need to know what's real." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I think you already do." Tears filled her eyes. "I never meant to hurt you." "I know," he said. "And I hope you find whatever it is you're still looking for." That night, Marine packed a small bag and stayed at her sister's place. She didn't go to Ely right away. She needed to be alone, to think, to breathe. But deep down, she had made her choice. She had chosen the truth, the mess, the chance to see if what they had could still live again. Across the city, Ely sat by his window. He hadn't heard from her all day. He didn't expect to. But his chest ached in that way only waiting can cause. He didn't know if she would come back. But he knew one thing. He was ready now, ready to try, ready to speak, ready to love the right way, with honesty and care. For the first time in years, he felt clear. Sometimes the hardest part isn't choosing love. It's choosing to be honest with yourself. A week passed before Marine texted Eli. The message was short. "Can we talk?" He replied right away. "Of course. My place? Okay, I'll come by tonight." When she arrived, the air between them was different. Quieter, but full of something big. She walked in, set her bag down, and stood in front of him. "I left James," she said. Eli didn't smile. He just looked at her with something deeper than joy. Understanding. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I think so," she said. "It was hard, but I couldn't stay when I knew my heart wasn't there anymore." "I'm sorry," Eli said, "for everything back then, now." "Me too," she said. They sat down on the couch, not touching, just close. "Do you still love me?" Marine asked. Eli looked at her. "Yes, I never stopped." Her eyes filled with tears. "I think I've always loved you too, but I didn't know how to say it. Not then." What now?" he asked. She smiled through her tears. "We take it slow. We don't pretend. We talk. We don't run from the hard parts." He nodded. "We build something better." She took his hand. This time, it wasn't about going back. It was about starting over, from a place of truth. They didn't kiss. Not yet. It wasn't the right moment, but the feeling between them was stronger than any kiss. It was real. It was steady. It was love, slowly returning, not as fire this time, but as light. Sometimes love doesn't end. It just waits for you to become the person who can finally hold it the right way. The weeks after that night felt different for Eli and Marine. They didn't rush. They didn't pretend everything was perfect. They met often, sometimes in quiet places, sometimes just sitting together in silence. Each meeting was like a small step forward. Slowly, the old walls between them started to come down. One afternoon, Ellie took Marine to the place where they had first met years ago, a little bookstore tucked between two tall buildings. The sun was warm and the air smelled like fresh paper and coffee. Do you remember this place? Ellie asked. Marine smiled. You tried to teach me how to read poetry here. I was terrible at it, Ellie laughed. But you listened, she looked at him. I'm glad we're here now. Not as who we were, but who we are. Ellie reached out and took her hand. I want to keep learning. About you. About us. Marine squeezed his hand gently. Me too. They didn't promise forever or no mistakes. They only promised to be honest and brave, to speak the words they needed to say even when it was hard. They speak, and that made all the difference. Love was no longer quiet or broken. It was alive, real, and waiting for them to finally listen. As the sun set, Ellie and Marine walked out of the bookstore, hand in hand. The future was uncertain, but they were ready to face it together. Sometimes the hardest part isn't falling in love. It's learning to stay, to speak, to grow, to never stop saying what you feel. And sometimes love comes back, not as a memory, but as a new beginning.